All right, let's dive in. The fight against a disease like ALS, it's not just one battle. It's more like a marathon, a race. And today, we're going to map out the entire track, the whole research pipeline, from a single idea all the way to a potential cure. So it really all boils down to this one big question, right? How do you get from a light bulb moment in a lab to something that actually helps patients? It's definitely not a straight line. It's this complex, carefully built pipeline with a bunch of critical stages. And today, we're walking through every single step. Every great race has to have a starting line. And in the world of medical research, that line is all about just understanding the problem. I mean, before you can even think about treatments, you've got to figure out what's going on at the most basic, fundamental level. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. This is the core challenge. Researchers basically have to become detectives. They have to ask these incredibly deep questions. Why are motor neurons, the cells that let us move, why are they dying in people with ALS? What exactly is going wrong inside those cells? So, the engine that powers all of this detective work is something called a discovery accelerator. The best way to think about them is like the R&D department for the entire field. Their whole job is to pour money and resources into basic science to find the clues, the new therapeutic targets that could lead to the drugs of the future. So what do they actually do? Well, they fund all this foundational work you see here. They're digging into the nitty-gritty of molecular biology, hunting for genetic clues, analyzing proteins that have gone haywire. All of this work is basically like building a super detailed map of the disease. And without that map, you have no chance of planning a route to a cure. Now, this isn't just some abstract idea. There are real organizations out there doing this trailblazing work every single day. So let's take a look at a couple of the key players who are really leading the charge at the starting line. Okay, what's so cool about this is how it shows there are different strategies to get to the same goal. On one side, you've got Target ALS, and they are all about massive collaboration. And on the other side, you have Project ALS, which is really zeroing in on neuron biology and creating brand new ways to even study the disease in the lab. Let's look a little closer at Target ALS. Their whole approach is to be a kind of force multiplier. By creating and then sharing these essential tools, things like stem cell models and massive databases of genomic data, they basically lift everybody up. They make every single researcher's work more powerful and way more efficient. And then you've got Project ALS. And wow, they were a huge part of an absolute game changer. Taking a patient's own skin cells, turning them back into stem cells, and then growing them into motor neurons in a petri dish. Think about that. It lets scientists study a living model of that specific person's disease. It's totally revolutionary. Okay, so we've got the trailblazers at the starting line. But what about an organization that's involved in every single stage of the race? This brings us to a true all-rounder in the fight against ALS. The ALS Association is a massive player across the entire pipeline. I mean, just look at their impact. For starters, they've funded the creation of all the major animal models for ALS, which, as you can imagine, are absolutely essential for testing new therapies before they get to humans. And they also drive huge collaborations. They're a key partner in something called the Accelerating Medicines Partnership, or AMP. And this works together the government, private companies, and nonprofits, all to find new ways to diagnose and track the disease. But they don't stop there. They're actively working to speed up drug development with programs like ALS Accelerated Therapeutics, also known as ALS Act. The whole goal is to shrink the time it takes to get a promising idea out of the lab and into clinical trials with actual patients. And this is so crucial. Their work isn't just in the lab. They are incredible advocates, working directly with government groups like the NIH and the FDA to push for more funding and more support for the entire research community. So when you put it all together, you can see this isn't a race for just one person. It's a relay. It's a huge collaborative pipeline where every single link in that chain is absolutely essential to get to the finish line. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? Without that initial basic science discovery work, the rest of the pipeline, the drug development, the clinical trials, it would just grind to a halt. You can't develop a drug for a target you haven't even found yet. So here it is, the whole thing laid out. It all starts with basic discovery, asking those fundamental why questions. That work leads to target identification, where you can finally pinpoint a specific problem to go after. From there, you get drug development, creating something to hit at target. Then comes the rigorous clinical trials in people. And finally, if it all works, you get to patient access. Every single group we've talked about plays a critical role in making this journey happen. And that really leaves us with the most exciting question of all.
We can see the machineries in place. We can see the incredible collaboration and the dedication. This pipeline is stronger than it has ever been. So really, the question isn't if a breakthrough is going to happen, it's which one of these amazing discoveries is going to be the spark that finally lights the fire.